The evolution of the Indian two-wheeler market is a rather interesting thing. Not all that long ago, a 150cc motorcycle was considered a performance bike, and today a 650cc twin is an hourly sighting. With scooters too, the market has evolved from favouring smaller 100 and 110cc offerings to accepting larger 125cc scooters. But is the Indian market ready for a 155cc sports scooter? Well, Yamaha is about to find out because it recently launched the Aerox 155 here, and we're riding it today. Now, a 150 or even a 160cc scooter is not something that's new to India. We've already seen them from Vespa and Aprilia. But even Aprilia's sporty SR160 still only gets a basic air-cooled 3-valve engine. The Aerox ventures into uncharted territory. It better lives up to that sports tag. You get a liquid-cooled 4-valve 155cc engine that even gets variable valve actuation. Now, if those clues weren't familiar enough for you, the Aerox's engine is heavily derived from the R15's motor, and that's no bad thing.
It's hardly a surprise that this 15 horsepower scooter feels quick on its feet in the city. It doesn't quite have that instant kick in the backside that you get from an EV, but once it gets going, there's no other scooter in India that can quite match it for pace. But it was pleasant to learn that the Aerox is also quite a happy trooper out on the highway. It feels perfectly at home sitting at speeds of 90 to 100 kph, and you even have a little bit left in reserve for overtakes, though you are reaching the end of its performance at this point. But even at the highest speed we touched, an indicated 117 kph, the motor felt smooth and vibe-free, just like it does through the rest of the rev range. Throttle response is crisp enough to match the scooter's sporty nature without feeling lurchy or overeager. In our performance tests, it's almost 3 seconds quicker than the Aprilia SR160 to 60 kph. And at 80 kph, that gap grows to a massive 6 seconds. The biggest surprise of this engine though has to be fuel efficiency. Sure, when you're riding hard, it will drop well below the 40 kpl mark. But when you dial it down a notch, the motor can be surprisingly efficient. The sheer grunt of it means that you don't really need to use very large throttle openings to get around, and if you're careful with your right hand, you could even see as high as 50 kpl in the city. And at a steady 65 to 70 kph cruise on the highway, you should get even more. The only real downside to this powertrain is that it sounds quite ordinary, and a sportier exhaust note to go with the rest of the scooter would have been nice. Matching the impressiveness of the engine is the Aerox's design. It's hard to say much more than that this is a super cool looking thing. It's definitely going to attract a lot of eyeballs in the college parking lot, but in our time with the scooter, it wowed everyone from little children to pensioners and everything in between. The alien to India form factor, the striking fascia and the meaty dimensions all add up to create a rather striking and premium looking scooter. What doesn't feel premium though are the finish levels. Certain bits like the switchgear and most of the bodywork feel quite nice, but other areas like the pillion foot pegs which don't sit flush against the body, the uneven floor mats, and the flimsy fuel filler flap are less so. There are a few inconsistent panel gaps as well.
Another area where the Aerox is a big departure from the sort of scooters we get here is handling. At speed, it feels considerably more heavy steering than the feather-light, quick-turning scooters we're used to riding. The upside of that though is that it offers unflappable stability and composure at all times and all speeds. It feels almost motorcycle-like through the bends, and that's partly down to big 14-inch wheels and chunky tires. That rear is a 140 section. All this does come at a cost though, because suspension setup is definitely on the firmer side and ride quality is not the most comfortable out there.
Unlike most monoshock equipped scooters in India, the Aerox uses twin shock absorbers at the rear. And it's at this end where it feels quite stiff. There's definitely a firm edge and it's not what you'd call plush or comfortable. But it's not jarring either. For all its going performance, the Aerox could use a little more stopping performance. The front disc bites well, but a little more feel and modulation would have been welcome. But what would really have been appreciated is a rear disc brake. The 130mm drum brake that we have to make do with in India feels positively feeble and leaves a lot to be desired.
It's quite clear that the Aerox does not aim to be the best at things like comfort or practicality. Its priorities lie in the area of sportiness. And if you want to enjoy that performance, you need to accept that you're going to have to make some compromises in the areas of comfort and practicality. Most notably, the floorboard. Let alone any space for luggage, even space for your feet is in very short supply.
As a taller rider, you may be tempted by the Aerox's large dimensions, but the design of the apron meant that it was constantly in contact with the knees of the taller riders on our team. And you could even injure yourself if you hit a bump hard or have an accident. Where it does claw back some ground is in under-seat storage space. With the fuel tank relocated to that prominent spine section, you get a generous 24.5 liters of storage under the saddle. It's also got features to match its premium market position, with snazzy LED lighting, an excellent stop-start system, fully digital instrumentation, and Bluetooth connectivity. Though it doesn't offer quite as much functionality as something like the TVS N-Torque, it misses out on things like navigation. By virtue of its displacement, it also gets single-channel ABS.
It's quite a brave decision from Yamaha to launch the Aerox here. It's certainly not the sort of scooter that's going to set sales charts on fire, and Yamaha probably knows this too. But that's not to say that it doesn't have the potential to be a success in its own right. It offers quick and convenient urban transportation thanks to a strong engine and the effortlessness of a CVT. It's also more practical than a motorcycle thanks to generous under-seat storage, and it can do highway stints, and of course it's going to be fun when you attack some corners. If these are things that appeal to you, then the Aerox should definitely be on your list. At 1.3 lakh rupees ex-showroom, it's quite a sweet deal too.